What is going on, everybody? It's KB. Before the episode starts, make sure you go check out StreamerSZN's brand new theme music. That's right. We have full-time, brand new theme music thanks to the newest homie and newest member of the music side of Underground Sports Philadelphia homies. That is Mobley. Stay Volk. His new single is out now. It is linked in the description on YouTube, and you'll be hearing it on audio until we can figure out if we can play it on video on StreamerSZN episodes from here on out. That's our new theme music. Stay Volk. Go download it now wherever you get your music, and go check out the music video on YouTube. But now, let's get into the episode of StreamerSZN.
Philadelphia, baby, you're gonna love it. Best sports fans in the world. Actually, the worst, but that's what makes them the best.
I just gotta say, for everybody watching at home, I'm happy the triple layout's back. What is going on, fellow streamers? Welcome into another edition of StreamerSZN, the exclusive streaming platform TV and movie podcast right here on the Underground Sports Philadelphia Podcast Network. It's KB, it's Christian, and it's Harrison, all on one screen, back at it again, as we are going to bring you a very fun breakdown of episode 4 of Daredevil Born Again, and then get into all the latest news and notes because we've got a loaded schedule. Christian is multitasking as we record the podcast here because he's a hardworking citizen of this wonderful, wonderful world we call corporate.
I'm a hardworking citizen.
Harrison just got done a 10.5-hour marathon drive from Bloomington, Indiana to South Jersey, and I'm getting all the odds and ends tied up for our March Madness coverage that starts by the time you guys are listening to this. So we're going to dive into the episode, break it all down, get into the hidden fun instances throughout this episode, and then we'll dive into some news and notes. But before we do, make sure you guys are following us on the socials at StreamerSZN and StreamerSZN Pod on TikTok. You can also subscribe to the pod on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts in audio form. Leave us a 5-star review. It goes a long way for helping this show continue to grow, helps more people find not only StreamerSZN, but every podcast on our network. And subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel, youtube.com/@Underground Sports Philadelphia. That's where you get full video episodes of this show every week, full video episodes of every show on our network, clips, shorts, live streams, original video content. It is all on our YouTube channel. We're currently at 1,043 subscribers. We're trying to get to 1,100 sooner rather than later. So keep on subscribing, youtube.com/@Underground Sports Philadelphia. And this episode is proudly brought to you by our friends over at FOCO, the presenting partner of Underground Madness 2025. Guys, we are so thrilled to have FOCO on board with us this March Madness season, and there's no better way to get in on the action than joining the Underground Madness Bracket Challenge. It is linked in the description. It is open the entire tournament, so join with us for your chance to compete for an awesome prize pack from our friends over at FOCO. It's one of our favorite times of the year as well. March Madness is here. Use our link in the description to sign up for the Bracket Challenge, and all tournament long, shop with our friends at FOCO. Use our link in the description. That way FOCO knows you're coming from us. And then when you go to checkout now through the end of the tournament, that's April 8th is when it is live till. Use code Underground10 when you go to checkout with your cart filled to the gills with our friends at FOCO, and you'll get a generous 10% off your next order. Again, use our link in the description, and then use code Underground10 when you shop with FOCO to get 10% off your next order now through April 8th. And episode also brought to you by our friends at Paramount Plus. We love Paramount Plus here at StreamerSZN. And if you're a student listening to this episode, perk those ears up. We've got the deal of the century for you. Paramount Plus now through April 9th is offering the deal of a lifetime. 50% off any Paramount Plus plan when you use our link in the description. If you are a student, I clicked on the page. Literally, all you got to do is put in your name and your student email, and you can sign up for any Paramount Plus package for 50% off. Don't miss out on a single second of March Madness. Don't miss out on Champions League Soccer, if you're a fan there, plus the entire back catalog that Paramount Plus has to offer. Truly bang for your buck, and they're making it 50% off now through the end of March Madness. So use our link in the description and sign up for Paramount Plus for 50% off if you're a student by using your student email and using our link in the description.
Paramount Plus.
What a
Very
deal.
underrated.
I've never seen a deal like that in the streaming era. So
I've never seen a bigger deal ever. It's huge. It's amazing. It's such a great deal. The greatest deal you've ever seen. Right, Harrison? The best ever.
Huge. Huge.
Huge. Amazing. Marvelous deal. Right, Kyle? Right.
The best deals. The best deals. I've never seen anyone with better deals.
Truly. Tiny Netflix, so small, so they Tiny Netflix doesn't do enough live. Prime, what's Prime? Prime, isn't it Prime the energy drink? This is Paramount Plus. Kyle's done. Kyle?
Oh, God.
oh man, we're never working with Netflix ever.
This is gonna be an episode. We're in for a fun one, boys.
Kyle, you are clipping that and posting that, okay? You are clipping at least at least up until I do the Netflix thing. You have to clip that.
Like Christian said, it's a very huge deal. Sign up for Paramount Plus in the description. Get 50% off your student.
Huge, Kyle?
Wait. No.
You did the hands thing. You said huge.
Use the link in the description. God damn it. Sign up for Paramount Plus. Get 50% off if you're a student, and you're lucky sons of guns if you're a student. Getting something 50% off in this economy is unheard of.
Yeah, brother.
So let's get into
Anyway.
It's Daredevil Born Again, episode 4, titled Sic Semper Systema.
Anyone have a translation for that? I didn't study Latin.
It is
I think it's long live the system, or
the system is always thus always to the system.
Thus always this, because I don't know much Latin, but I do remember my course on Abraham Lincoln's assassination.
Like Internet 1.0 meme template. I don't know much Latin, but when I do,
it's about the punishment. Whoa!
I was
And it's a Semper Fi, because Punisher's green. Semper Fi, soldiers.
I was going to try and say something. I was going to try and say something in Pig Latin, and then wait, I don't know Pig Latin. Never mind.
Oink oink.
On the Daredevil day.
Get peg, get whatever.
This motherfucker's so tired he's fluent in Pig Latin.
Hey, I discovered new things about myself when I keep my body awake for.
Whoa, kid show.
Hey, whoa! I'm mentally. Wait.
Very fitting that we get the John.
When Harrison is tired, he turns into an internet vigilante known as Indiana Man.
Wait, I mean, call me Indiana Jones because I am Harrison Ford. Hey.
Ew.
Tomato.
All right, let's get into it. Episode 4 of Daredevil Born Again. Before we dive into the plot and the breakdown, Harrison, I'll start with you. Just your overall thoughts on the episode from the nerd comic fandom, show fandom of Daredevil, and what this episode brought to the table.
It was another banger. We got a bunch of setups, bookended by what I think is going to be the main villain of the series, in a certain serial killer with an artistic flair. We have another setup for the future of the Mantle of White Tiger. A bunch of good Wilson Fisk side plot stuff. Matt coming to terms with the violent nature of himself and his job and wanting to let the system handle things, but after the tragic demise of Hector Ayala in the previous episode, he doesn't know where he's going. He doesn't know how to really cope with this. And yeah, there's a scene about 3/4 of the way through the episode. We already brought his name up. It's Matt. It's someone who, spoiler warning. Let's do the spoiler warning. Do the spoiler warning.
I'm Batman. No. Ladies and gentlemen, your Wilson Fisk spoiler warning is back. Curtains of New York City and Dallas and LA and Wilmington, Delaware. Please pause this podcast if you have not listened or watched this week's episode. Then come back to enjoy our wonderful non-criminal musings about these masked vigilantes I so despise. Anyway.
Musings? Hang on now. Musings?
That was, I promised that wasn't on purpose. Sadly.
Okay. Spoiler warnings out there. The scene with Matt Murdock and the Punisher was just everything I could have dreamed of. Like, it was perfect. Well, we'll break that down later, but like the nerd in me, I was geeking out the entire time. I think I audibly gasped like 5 times.
Christian, your overall thoughts as somebody who is, obviously, if you're new to the show, Christian has not watched the original Daredevil run when it was on Netflix. By choice. So he doesn't have the emotional connection to the characters like Harrison and I do.
Okay. Where to start with this episode? It does a good job at the start to kind of build the emotional White Tiger thing, and I loosely know the history of Matt, so even him saying you don't want to see this, even though he can't see, given what I know about the Daredevil character, I'm like, okay, nice. This was we kind of talked about, and I think it was just you and I, Kyle, about, okay, what will trigger Matt to do this, and it wouldn't be just the killing of the White Tiger alone. And I think this episode kind of proved our point in a roundabout way, where it wasn't necessarily the killing itself. It was the niece. It was running into the cop in the courtroom. It was the guy who he was tasked with representing. It was then finally running into Punisher that's kind of caused this emotional layered breaking for him to slip back into the cowl, the mask. This is, I think, one of the better just Marvel episodes from a psychological level, in terms of seeing someone continually work their way through their feelings, through their grief, through all these different things, and come out of the opposite end of an episode in a completely tangibly, you can point to X, Y, and Z different way, while also just like lacing the subplot stuff throughout, which will come up to the surface more in the remaining 5 episodes.
5,
this was 4. Yeah, 5.
9-episode run.
So I'll share more thoughts on other specific things as we go through, but probably my favorite episode since the premiere.
It was
Wow.
great.
Wow. I was not expecting that. I enjoyed this episode. I thought it had a lot of great elements. This episode to me was very stitched together. You could tell that there were elements of this episode that were from the previous direction of the show, and the parts that were brought in by the new showrunners, brought in by the new direction of the show. I'm not saying it was bad, because I think they did a great job with the stitching that they used to convey the story of this episode. But I do think you can tell when certain aspects of the show were put together by the previous run, and some of the stuff just didn't really resonate with me. A lot of the major stuff did, but I do have a hot take before we get into
Hold on. Before you go into that, I do want to bounce off that for a second. I assume you kind of mean all the Fisk stuff, and then throw. Hold on, let me get through it. So, some of the Fisk stuff paired with the guy who he's tasked with representing, which like that fundamentally like feels like something that's like the most out of theme with part of this episode, but I feel like it fits in well personally in the Matt psychological thing, because I was fully expecting him to be like, okay, I will fight this with you, and we just kind of like drift off, and I'm like, Matt's okay. So after that guy makes an emotionally resonating speech with Matt, we get hello.
Yeah, so that the part where he's representing the guy for stealing the caramel corn and everything.
For stealing,
quote
let's
unquote.
Just be because we never see the footage.
That part to me was like, okay, this definitely was from the prior direction of the show for sure, especially with the one piece of dialogue that was dropped in there. I don't know if you guys initially caught it. I caught it on a go back to it. But him saying, was it a Skrull? That was them banking on Secret Invasion being way bigger than it actually was.
I didn't even clock that.
Because the way that Charlie Cox just simply sits there and is like, no, I don't think it was. And then it just continues on. They made it a total nothing burger, but that's the first time Skrulls were mentioned since that abomination of a show, no pun intended. But
is that Tim Ross music?
Hey, whoa, too soon. I'm still hurting.
Word life.
But to me, that was a full-blown scene of the initial direction of where this revamp of Daredevil was going to go. Yeah. And to me, I don't know if I'm just being too overly critical. The Gandolfini character is not resonating with me all that much. Like, he's such a pretentious dickhead, and like, I get it, but he's not clicking with me. It's fine, but it's like, I don't know, it's just not meshing with me yet.
So
he's definitely the new Echo. Like this is Wilson's replacement for Echo.
So
whole thing about like, I tried mentoring someone. This is him trying to fill the void that Vanessa left after her affair, the void that Echo left after shooting him in the face twice.
I mean, if is there really a void left when Cage something, which we'll get to that.
Yeah, and another thing with that scene that we will get to.
Jeffrey, is that you?
Please tell me the both of you saw his plate during that scene.
Oh yeah.
So I'm not gonna lie. For a second, my mind went straight to the Hannibal TV show, and I'm like, is he eating him?
Can I play the theme song of when that cloche was lifted up and that plate was there?
Num 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 num.
Big back, big back, big back, big back.
Hey, Wilson Fisk about to get chonky again.
And I
But
get what they're doing with the Gandolfini character and everything, but I don't know. It's just like this, like out of left field, no connection type of character. And could it resonate with me down the line? Sure, but through these first couple of episodes, like I don't know, you could still be doing this show the way everything has gone without him, and I think you still have pretty much the same show going.
I don't know if he's supposed to resonate with you. That's the thing. He's supposed to be just this like stereotypical douche working for an
right, and like that's what's not resonating with me. It's like
okay.
There's not an like
you just don't care about him enough.
Right, like there's no, not that I'm like looking for an end game with a character like his, but it's just like we could still have the same show going through these first 4 episodes, and you miss relatively nothing if he's removed from it outside of what the bringing in of BB Urich to Fisk's office, like them being out at the club and everything. That felt very like original run, because then you got no substance of BB writing that article, which I would have loved to have seen.
So my thing with this Gandolfini character is, while I don't get it at the moment, surely there's cards yet to be played that make all of this shit make more sense. But I don't know what those cards are, which is why I'm like, I'm giving it the benefit of the doubt for now. But like, if we're still heading into the finale, I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? Then I'm on your side, Kyle.
Like, to me, he's not even really Echo. He's a revival of Wesley's character from season 1 of Daredevil.
So here's what I'm thinking the plan is for the character. I think Daniel Blake is going to be a stand-in for Richard Fisk, the son of Wilson and Vanessa. Because in the comics, when Fisk becomes mayor, guess who takes over his crime syndicate? I feel like that's where they're going with this. I feel like they're setting up Daniel Blake to become the new Kingpin. Or at least Kingpin for a while, so that Wilson can focus on mayor before he eventually goes back to his dark roots.
See, and Christian and I talked about this last week when we had our split breakdown. Like, I think the way that Marvel is setting up, because like the only person that has ever had the type of creative control and like decision making we've seen that Kevin Feige has given to Vincent D'Onofrio is Robert Downey Jr. And we know how important he is to the whole Marvel ecosystem. I genuinely think like D'Onofrio is going to be around doing the Kingpin thing for as long as he chooses to. And
until he's 90.
He's going to do whatever the fuck he wants, and he's going to have say in whatever he wants. So I don't even think like they're going to give the Kingpin moniker to anybody else until D'Onofrio steps away or whatever it may be. I think that Blake is working for Val, and he's like an inside to the inside situation, which we'll get more on in Thunderbolts next month, or 2 months from now. But
that time is a flat circle.
Right. So we'll see what happens there, but just some interesting stuff from this episode, because it was definitely stitched together from a lot of the stuff from the original run versus what we know from now. And I think the performance from Bernthal and Charlie Cox, and then the final scene sequence, really masked a lot of the original stuff being as like question marks above your head as it actually was.
That's fair.
No, yeah.
So let's get into it. Hector Ayala's body gets delivered to the coroner's office, and as Matt Murdock arrives to find out what happened to his client, Murdock gets told that despite Ayala being shot from close range, the casing was not found on the scene. That's a red flag.
Wee woo.
Angela Del Toro shows up and demands to be able to see her uncle, but Murdock convinces her to not push for it and comforts her. Del Toro is convinced that Ayala was murdered by the New York City Police Department after his involvement in court victory, and tells Murdock, Murdock tells her to have faith that Ayala's killer would be found soon. This scene was not only awesome, it conveyed emotion that I feel like we rarely have gotten in Marvel entities post Endgame.
What I think really helped that was the use of the expletives that Angela used. Like, I'm not one of those guys who's like, oh, you got to say fuck every 5 seconds for it to have meaning. No.
This isn't a Martin Scorsese movie.
Yeah, exactly. But you use it once per episode and use it in like a very powerful way that amplifies the word that much more. Makes it that much more emotional, makes that chord strike. And, you know, there's more examples of that from, like, PG-13 movies. You can use it in a humorous way, like in The Batman, Happy Fucking Halloween, or Guardians 3, open the fucking door. Like, the use of that once there, that's funny. You get the joke. You go, ha, ha, you laugh. But when it's used by Angela to say, and the fucking cops, they get away with it, That tugs at your heartstrings. That is a niece who is grieving the loss of her uncle, a life that was cut too short, and the scene was powerful.
And I did see there was allegedly a cut scene from the original filming that the White Tiger amulet like glowed as Angela got closer to it.
They should have put that in.
I'm glad they got rid of it, honestly.
Really?
I'm okay with them getting rid of it because I don't think you need to replace the mantle that quickly and have it kind of like a speed run to being like, oh yeah, here's the next way. They did subtle hints, like she was wearing, you know, white striped pants. Like there was very subtle hints to being like, yeah, we're doing this, but we're not revealing it in an open and out way just yet. I was glad that reading that was cut.
And, you know, diehard comic fans will know that she will take up the mantle.
For sure.
And you don't need to, like, give that away. You don't need to, like, I see your point, yeah.
Like, you didn't have to fast forward to being like, oh, yeah, this guy just died an episode ago, but here's his replacement.
Yeah.
So I was happy to see
that. Everybody in Secret Invasion. Just kill everybody except Nick Fury off and be like, all right, and here's the replacements. Go for it.
So then we have BB Urich hang out with Daniel Blake at the club, but Blake tries to excuse himself as he has to go to work the next morning. Urich says that Wilson Fisk is working Blake out too much, but Blake admires him and is glad to have such a job. He tells Urich that Fisk has a meeting planned with Clean Green Haulers about their idea to decrease the garbage output, and Urich points out there are union contracts to be considered, but Blake says that Fisk has a plan on how to circumvent it before Urich calls a cab for Blake to get him home. That was like a plot line that, like, with BB's character and the dynamic between the Urich family and Wilson Fisk, I would have liked to have seen like BB's process behind writing that story a little bit more. We could still get it, but I would have liked to have seen more on that dynamic because I think that's a subplot like rivalry that is subtly brewing in the background of this show, and I want more of it.
Let me just say real quick, BB was on her lowest lane shit right there. Getting your inside informant drunk and then casually gleaming some information off of him, that is exactly some type of shit Lois Lane would do, and I respect the hell out of her for that.
Yeah, why headphone volume, there we go. while I think we would have enjoyed seeing her write that piece, I don't think that in the grand scale of things, if we think about this episode, that it was necessary to see her write it, in my opinion.
And not even like write it per se, but just like her like beginning to connect the dots, because like we also don't know if she knows that Fisk killed her uncle yet, which is also fascinating. So like, I want to see like the inner workings of her brain, kind of like connect the dots to being like, yeah, I'm like this Gen Z reporter type, and going to the social media route of getting interviews and working my way up the ranks, but also realizing that like the most powerful man in the city fucking murdered my uncle with his two bare hands.
Yeah. That she's gonna figure it out eventually this season, if she doesn't already now.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that are going to get figured out this season. Some of which Kyle and I talked about last week, and I'm sure we will talk about in our remaining discussion of this episode. But yeah,
I have the sneaking suspicion that she does already know, and that she did a couple puff pieces on Fisk in order to have him lower his guard, so that later down the line she can hit him with that revelation.
Yeah, I'm excited to see that rivalry just bud into formation. Speaking of Fisk, we get cut to a therapy session with Heather Glenn, who asks the Fisk couple to open up about something they avoid talking about, and Vanessa brings up her affair with Adam. Fisk does not want to talk about Adam, saying that Vanessa betrayed him, but she argues that Fisk was gone at the time and she did not know if he would ever come back. Vanessa opens up about being fascinated by Adam's art skills, and Fisk reveals that he had a talk with Adam, but makes it clear that he left it at that. At the end of the session, Glenn privately asks Vanessa if she feels safe about her husband, but Vanessa assures her that Fisk would never harm her. When I'm watching all of this and like Vanessa saying that like he disappeared or left, my brain just can't help but like think that Vanessa thinks that, because like they don't bring it up like where he went or anything. My brain is just processing this, and I could be alone here, but Vanessa thinks that he blipped, but he was really in Oklahoma chasing down Echo.
Ooh.
Because he was gone, didn't know when he would be back, or maybe he did blip and then also came back. I don't know. It's an interesting thing, because obviously we didn't see Vanessa during any of this, and she hasn't been in anything until now. So like, maybe, I don't know. I might be thinking too far outside the box there, but
I like that theory. I do like that theory.
So then we get Leroy Bradford.
Bad Leroy Bradford, baddest man.
Leroy Bradford gets arrested for stealing caramel corn from stealing from the bodega, and Kirsten McDuffie calls Murdoch to take on his case. And as Murdoch and McDuffie have a favor to repay, Murdoch comes to the detention center to speak with Bradford about his case, but despite the evidence piled against him, he claims to be innocent. I also loved the just like ableism that Bradford displays. Like, I get the blind man. Like, it was just so peak.
That's the second time that's happened.
Yes.
When Matt's gone to the detention center at this point.
Yeah. Also, I'll see what I can do for you. Ha!
See, he said the thing.
He said the thing. He can't see, but he'll see what he can do. Ha ha ha. Ha ha.
Bradford refuses to take a plea and insists on probation, so Murdoch approaches Sophia Azola, who, though you could have cut the tension between those two with a fucking butter knife. Matt, you're seeing somebody. Christian,
Bonk.
ready the bonk arrows.
Honestly, out of everything so far in this series, Matt's ability to just turn on the charm whenever a very attractive woman around is the most comic accurate thing about his character.
Turn on. I see what you did there.
Hold on.
And the fact that he is just covered in Catholic guilt. That man is so guilty of things he didn't even do.
Fitting that this episode aired during St. Patrick's Week.
Would we call him the insert RI word here? Because I dare not bring up that person's name because I find it fundamentally stupid.
He's talking about the Rizzler.
Oh.
He's the Rizzler of Hell's Kitchen.
Rizzler has no shame. Matt at least has shame.
Does he though? Hold on. She-Hulk, psychiatrist, opposing counsel. What's next?
Karen Page still in San Francisco.
His former coworker. Because you never saw it, but Karen and Matt were a thing.
The Rizzler of Hell's Kitchen, baby.
You had the ninja assassin.
Yeah.
Who else? There've been a couple. Yeah, no. Matt has shame, but not when it comes to women.
He's got a list, if you will.
Yes.
So he convinces her to reduce Bradford's jail sentence down to 10 days. Murdoch then runs into Powell and accuses him of killing Ayala in retaliation. But Powell claims that he had nothing to do with that, and Murdoch verifies it as truth by his heartbeat. Again, the way they're using Matt's heightened senses in this show is really, really cool. And that scene was also super dope. I really liked the just like anger dynamics between those two. That was very fun, and it kind of proved our theory a little bit of potential Matt getting disbarred.
Yeah,
it was noted. Hold on, I'm just trying to check something because as I was staring at that cop during the episode, I'm like, who is he reminding me of? What's his character name again?
Powell.
No, I gotta look at this up. Give me a second, because he reminds me of a guy who plays a cop on the show on Paramount Plus, Mayor of Kingstown, starring Jeremy Renner, Hawkeye.
And his name is Hamish Allen Headley.
Please be it. Please, yes. In Mayor of Kingstown, he basically plays this badass SWAT officers, like kind of crazy, kind of crazy. But I was staring at him during this episode. I'm like, is that you? And yes, it is. And so, plug for our sponsors, Paramount Plus. People go watch Mayor of Kingstown. At least the first season, it gets a little wonky after the first season, but the first season's good. Jeremy Renner's fun. He's fun. You see Kyle Chandler for an episode. I will not tell you what happens to him. Anyway.
It'd be very funny if Jeremy Renner ended up popping up in a season of Daredevil and those two cross paths in this. It's like, what is this? A crossover episode? So Fisk and his assistants arrive at Red Hook Pier, where he presents his project aimed to fully rebuild the port and revitalize New York City's industry. Sheila Rivera points out that there are bureaucratic hurdles to overcome, not to mention instances of gang violence happening in the area that need to be addressed. Regardless, Fisk is determined to bring the project into fruition and orders Rivera to get it through one step at a time. Buck Cashman tells Fisk that the 5 families are becoming too much of a problem and the havoc would not stop until one of the heads gets arrested or dies. Now we see the importance of Red Hook Pier, because it's obviously off limits with Vanessa talking about it with the 5 families, because Wilson has plans for that joint.
He's going to turn into a big mini golf course.
Yeah. It's going to be a nice little bit of putt-putt in Red Hook.
putt, a nice Ferris wheel. Make it New York City proper's version of Coney Island.
Welcome to the Red Hook Pier Invitational. Here's my good friend, Tiger Woods.
Matt Murdock playing golf. Impossible. How does he keep getting hole-in-ones? Is he blind? Or is this bullshit?
Now, Mr. Murdoch, you swear that you don't have an earpiece in, telling you exactly how the ball is lying, correct? That would be against the sanctity of the game.
Play it as it lies, Fisk.
Play it as it lies.
Anyway,
Kids don't kill people. I do.
So Murdoch tells Bradford that he managed to reduce his sentence, like we said, but Bradford is not satisfied, to which Murdoch harshly tells him that in his case, he cannot expect anything better, to which we also get the Skrull reference. And I was just like, oh my God, that was supposed to be important before, but it's not now.
which I would just like to say, with the rewrites, I just went Elmer Fudd there for a second. With the rewrites this show went through, you would have think they would have maybe cut that line, given how long this thing was in production.
So Bradford tells Murdoch that the last time he served a sentence, he missed his supplemental security income appointment and got his benefits cut, which seriously impacted his living conditions. He admits that he stole the caramel corn, but only because he could not eat expired supermarket food anymore, and Murdoch understands why Bradford is so upset. Now, this scene was definitely from the original running of the show, but it was like good dialogue dynamics and showing you like the different stages of life that people can be in the real world as well. Yeah. It was an interesting thing to keep in, but I understand why they did. But you could also tell, like, as the flow of the episode, like, I don't know if that scene will have any further development outside of episode 4.
So one, this is not the takeaway I was expecting to have out of an episode of Daredevil, but between the peer meeting and this, I was like, since when did we devolve into political talk of the last month of what we've been going through, and just people talking about how, like, all the absurd over regulation of having to build things, and government benefits. I'm just like, huh? Like, how timing? Question mark.
These writers are inhuman, confirmed. They have the future sight ability that Ulysses had in Civil War II. They knew. They just knew.
It's like when the MCU reflects life. So as Fisk attends the most School of Rock looking scene in the MCU ever. Which I don't know if either of you guys saw the report from this. Apparently they had to add more kids to the scene because the kids that they initially had were too harmonized. So they had to add kids in to be not harmonized with the initial cast of kids. Which makes that scene all the more funnier.
That's amazing. I didn't know that. You know what that reminded me of? Do you know that reminded me of George Bush speaking to a bunch of kids on 9/11? Sir, the second plane is at the towers.
This whole scene had me being literally like, what the fuck am I watching right now? And also laughing my ass off all at the same time, because not only did Wilson Fisk, the character, look like he needed to get the fuck out of there, Vincent D'Onofrio looked like he wanted to get the fuck out of there.
He was not acting. He was just, that was
brilliant.
Just his reaction. He was like, I signed up to be Kingpin. What the hell is this?
Someone also took
What's the meaning of this shit?
Someone also took the gif of him clapping on Twitter and sped it up like 8x. So it's just like hardcore like clapping meme, and it's so goddamn funny.
I love it.
This scene is just pure chaos, and it was so fucking funny.
And then the lead into the next scene for the Latvian Heritage Day.
And they sing the same fucking song in Latvian.
But in Latvian.
So funny.
Also, shout out to the writers for another callback to earlier in the episode, because when he's talking to Sophie, he brings up Latvian Heritage
Day. Yeah, that was
great,
good.
Great little callbacks. Great way to keep things in a good continuity. Let's see what having TV writers does for a TV show.
Who would have thought? So we get Fisk attending the school choir performance, and they're like, "Oh, we have another one." He's like, "No, that's fine. That's fine."
No.
It was his version. No. Wait.
Blake, please, my eardrums.
So while he's at the choir performance, Blake finds the BB Report article about Fisk's recycling project that called him out for union busting that he told Yurik about. He tells Rivera about this, and she warns Blake to keep quiet and let her handle this as she takes the meeting out of the schedule and informs Fisk of what happened. Fisk summons every member to his team's office, lashing out at them, and this was OG Kingpin.
That was Kingpin.
This was like, oh, daddy's home. Let's go. He's about to burst out of this suit, and we're going to reveal the excess 200 pounds that he's got packed in there from his Ozempic. But that was like...
He's about to use a paperweight on the mayoral desk to bash every single one of their heads in.
That was like the D'Onofrio Kingpin that we have all known to love for how much of a sick psycho he is. So then he lashes out, demanding to know who leaked the information. Blake comes forward and admits to being the one responsible, telling Fisk that he will accept any punishment and will continue to support him in any way he can. Moved by Blake's loyalty, Fisk decides to not fire Blake or Rivera, but warns him that he would not tolerate another mistake and it would be the last thing that he does. That scene to me was like, oh, maybe he does die in this show, because maybe he's too much of a dumb dipshit who is a blabbermouth, and then Fisk ends up putting his head in a car door.
Oh no, Ben Urich's niece got me way too drunk again, and now I'm telling her that my boss is the kingpin of crime who killed her uncle.
So Matt Murdock arrives at the place where Ayala died and manages to find the casing of the bullet that killed him by using a nice little shooter of alcohol to trace the angle of the hill that it would have rolled down onto. Matt's a fucking physics, fucking calculus math genius.
Hey, he heard the trajectory, he smelled the sewer, and he was like, if I hit it with the amount of force, and considering that it was, I don't know, a 99 bananas shooter, it looked like some 99 bull crap. If I throw it with this much, it's got enough weight, it'll let me know exactly where it is.
We need Matt Murdock in an analytics department in baseball.
Make Matt Murdock umpire. He'll get every call right.
So Matt manages to find...
probably better than Joe West.
Hey,
Matt
the
finds
only person than Matt Murdock is Angel Hernandez.
So that's why he was so bad.
Yes.
Checks out. So Matt finds the casing of the bullet that killed him, adorned with the skull symbol, and then he meets with Frank Castle at his hideout and shows him the casing, to which we get Frank just full-blown feral animalistic attack, and he's like, Frank, it's me, it's Matthew. Full government.
Hold.
And then he fucking
Wait.
throws that damn axe right into the wall next to him. And our first appearance of John Bernthal in MCU continuity.
He really steals the show every time he pops on screen. There are so many characters in the MCU and actors who were meant to play those characters. Like Robert Downey Jr. was meant to play Iron Man. Chris Evans was meant to play Captain America, or Steve Rogers, I should say. And John Bernthal, out of every single one of them, was meant to play the Punisher the most. He is the definitive version of the Punisher, and that's saying a lot considering the Ray Stevensons and I forget the other guy who played the Punisher. They did great runs with the character. They did phenomenal jobs. But there's just something about John Bernthal's portrayal of Frank Castle. It's perfect in every single way.
So Matt suggests that Ayala was killed by one of the police officers that idolized the Punisher, and Murdoch questions why Castle refuses to use his skills to help people, but he claims that he already tried and being a hero never suited him. Murdoch decides to leave, but Castle stops him, claiming that Murdoch secretly wants his help to go after those who killed Ayala. And I think this was genuinely one of the more powerful, incredible scenes of dialogue and back and forth we've gotten in an MCU property, because these two on the screen together are just made for one another.
Dynamite.
Yes.
And I wanted to get your thought on that too, Christian. Obviously, this being your first full-blown time seeing them together, like in an episode of Daredevil. What did you think of Bernthal and Charlie Cox?
It's prestige TV, baby. It's it's in what's probably the best psychological dressing down we would see this entire season, I'm willing to say, despite Matt dating a psychologist. The Punisher, John Bernthal, just dressing him down about the whole victim and service and what he's really feeling, and it's one of the I feel like calling it the best MCU TV scene is scandalous and prisoner of the moment, but it has to be top 5 at worst.
Easy.
I actually wholeheartedly agree that might be the best MCU TV scene. And again, this is very biased because, again, Daredevil fanboy, loved the show back in 2015 through 2018. The Punisher stuff might be my favorite stuff from that show, and it was perfection. The emotion, the dialogue they were having. This isn't about me. This is about you. You need my validation to get back out there. You're doing it for him, and you can't even say his name. And then you have the first ever name drop of Bullseye, not Dex, but Bullseye. It just the tension. I didn't move the entire time I was watching that scene.
Yeah, it was phenomenal. So Frank presses him on the guilt he had been trying to hide, reminding him of Foggy Nelson, whom Murdoch failed to save. And I was watching a breakdown. I forget which one, so I apologize, but I didn't realize until I was watching the breakdown. This episode was the first time that since the episode where Foggy dies that Matt says Foggy's name.
Wow.
He hasn't said Foggy's name since he died on the show. Because even when he like celebrates Hector like being found not guilty, and him and Heather are celebrating, he says, "Yeah, my former partner."
Yeah. And she doesn't even say Foggy. She says Franklin Nelson.
Mm-hmm.
Foggy's
the only time he said it was when he was on the stand in the courtroom.
Yeah, and that was still in episode 1.
Right.
Foggy's name has not been the name Foggy has not been said since episode 1.
Yeah. So I found that pretty interesting too. But reminding him of Foggy Nelson, who Murdoch failed to save, although Murdoch says that it was not about him. Castle points out that Matt avoids saying his name, and says that Matt hates himself for failing Foggy, and the guilt is eating him from the inside. Murdoch eventually lashes out and breaks into tears as Castle sympathizes with him and recalls how he hears his son's voice all the same, and that's why he does what he does. That also, I couldn't help but like laugh a little bit with Bernthal saying that his son's like, "Go get him, daddy." It's like, Jesus Christ, you got a ghost kid telling you to go kill people.
Yeah, Dad, go shoot those dickheads in the face with the biggest gun you can possibly get. I'm so proud.
So Matt insists that the system already did its part and Bullseye got a life in prison, and then fucking John Bernthal drops some absolute bars in fucking Charlie Cox's face and says, "How about Foggy? Did he get life?" And I was like, "Oh, fucking come for his jugular, Frank."
Also, the delivery from both of those on their lines, Matt going, "He got life," tears running down his face, his voice cracking, and then Bernthal immediately clapping back. What about Foggy? What about Foggy? He get life?
Oh, so good. It was so good.
Foggy got life in a sense, in the fact that he ain't never seen the light of day again.
Also, you bring up, obviously, that's the first time that we've heard Bullseye mentioned, and in this sense, first time Frank Castle has ever mentioned Dex and or Bullseye. To me, obviously, that presents itself that off screen, those two have crossed paths at some point since the last time Daredevil was on television screens.
So, what happens when you have the world's most accurate assassin versus the world's deadliest psychopath?
Tune in next week.
Dragon Ball Z Kai.
I need to see that face off. I desperately need to see that face off. Oh, I feel like we needed the One Piece to be continued. Just slap it on the screen after he said Bullseye.
Yeah, that was interesting. He says, Bullseye gets to go to the chow hall and breathe the same air you breathe. That was just epic dialogue.
You think you're better than me? You think you're better than me?
So then at dinner, Fisk correctly guesses that Glenn asked Vanessa if she felt safe around him. And she says that while it is the case, she wonders if she should feel safe. Now, here's my thing. How's Wilson know that was brought up? What does he have the room wired? Obviously his right-hand man keeps going and popping up around Heather as well. How does he know that was asked?
Well, he said it, intuition. Like, let's be real, Wilson Fisk is a very smart man. After what happened in that court, in the room of, I don't know what you call it, a therapy room, an
Close
office,
enough.
Whatever. After everything that him and Vanessa talked about with Adam to Heather, he had to assume that Heather was going to take Vanessa aside and be like, "Hey, you okay? He's not hurting you, is he?" I don't think that was bugged. I think that was genuinely just intuition from Wilson.
So Fisk tells her about his father, who used to be his role model and everything, but he did not teach Fisk forgiveness. Oh, we know all too well about that, Mr. Wilson. So he struggles to get things back to how they are supposed to be. Vanessa says that she changed and is no longer the woman he knew before, to which Fisk agrees and says that she became something more extraordinary. Murdoch returns home and tells Heather about his grievances with the system that sent Bradford to Rikers Island for a petty theft. He opens up about his feelings while fighting an unwinnable battle before asking Glenn about her day, and she mentions the couple crisis she had been dealing with, and Matt jokingly says, "So you can't tell me anything?" And then she whispers, "I'd have to kill you." And then they go into bonk mode. And then we get some peak, like season 1, Matt just staring up at the ceiling while his partner is asleep in the bed. They obviously do the nasty together, and while she sleeps, Murdoch goes to the secret stash where he is hiding his Daredevil suits. and practices with his old billy club. So that's the scene that we got from the original trailers of seeing all the cowls, which there's quite a number of them, which is very exciting. And then in sequence with that, we get Fisk having a dinner at the underground warehouse.
It's a lot more than one egg
big
omelet.
old plate of food. And he walks on down. We see for the first time in MCU continuity, Rabbit in the snow, still with that blood splattered all over it from season 3. And he's in the underground warehouse where he keeps Adam as a prisoner. One, I was kind of surprised that Adam is an unknown character, and we don't really exactly know who he is outside of obviously having an affair with Vanessa. But my prediction went to shit when I thought it was going to be Tony Dalton's character. But I was surprised that it was kind of just like a nothing burger character that we don't know.
I think it hits a little harder in that case, because if it was someone we knew, we'd expect them to break out. But no, this is just a normal dude who, I don't know, maybe didn't realize that he was getting involved with Wilson Fisk's wife, and now he's going to be rotting away in a cell for the rest of his life.
And I love how just the agony in Adam's voice occurred throughout that scene as Fisk is eating away, and he feels like the first victim that gets Fisk to pull the Bugs Bunny meme of like, it's time to go back to the old me.
I mean, that meal was definitely old Wilson Fisk. That was a traditional New York Sunday dinner type shit.
Yeah, that was wild. And then on top of all of that, we get the third.
But wait, there's more.
We get the third point of this triangle. As all of that's happening, we get first appearance in costume of Muse carrying around an unconscious man to his hideout and drains the blood from his body for his next artwork, while we see 2 pieces of art on his wall that are meant to resemble one Wilson Fisk.
And then there were those shots of the people hanging on meat hooks. Very
Straight
reminiscent
from the comics.
But also very reminiscent of Punisher from season 2 of Daredevil, when he went on his killing spree of all the gangs, when he hit up the cartel, I believe it was, and he strung them up in the butcher shop on the meat hooks. Also, oh yeah, go ahead.
No, I was going to go off on a different point. So go ahead and finish your point.
That scene of Muse just sucking in air while he's draining the blood. You see the mask go in, and the eyes, terrifying, cold, lifeless. Just this dude's gonna be terrifying. I already know it. I cannot.
Also, it might just be me, or it might have just been like too in deep. Did it not look like where Wilson was also in the same place where Muse was?
There were some similarities, but I think, given his past, Wilson has Lord knows how many weird different hideouts.
The New York subway is a massive place. There have to be like 50 million different little hidey holes in the
would be fascinating if they were operating their little criminal mind doings in the same place, though. I like, between the Bernthal and Charlie Cox scene, that final sequence of Daredevil kind of going back to his old ways and training again, Kingpin, and the Atom scene, Muse in costume for the first time. That was, and there was other parts obviously early on with Angela, mourning over her uncle and everything, the real life human aspect of Leroy and Matt. Those things definitely stood out to me from the outside stuff that was obviously like stitched together by those things. There's a lot of like heavy lifting that I think those 4 scenes in particular really did for this episode. But that final scene was just like, that was That was Netflix Daredevil.
Yeah. They're doing such a good job of carrying over the vibe from Netflix while not necessarily having it be a full continuation. It's the same show, but it's not. And I think it might be low-key a little bit darker. And
They've definitely gotten in their bag with the TVMA titling, which I'm happy about.
It's fantastic. This is easily the best TV show Marvel has ever put out. Every week,
That's not a high bar, but
not a high bar, but they are setting. This show is setting the bar so high that I don't think any other show will be ever able to catch up. Like, you know, WandaVision, Loki, they're all right here. Daredevil's way up here. It's we've gone from, like, you know, a nice Audi, a nice BMW, real good cars, to like a Ferrari or like a Bugatti.
Can I also just say, from a TV aspect, I've been very pleased that like these episodes have been like 50 plus minutes for the most part.
Yes,
and that's like,
and the
not
credits,
including the credits.
The credits are only like 4 minutes compared to the
like
8-minute credits we used to get.
It's not like we're getting like, oh, it's a 46-minute runtime and the episode is only 30 minutes.
Yep.
Like, I'm glad that like they're taking
56-minute runtimes, 52-minute episodes.
Like, I'm glad they're taking the liberty to really like flush out the episode and not being afraid to like approach a 1 hour mark. Like, the show is a mature audience show by rating, and just like, that's what I think Daredevil fans want. They want these longer episodes because it makes more sense for what the overall content is.
So here's what I was going to say earlier. As someone who's not in the Daredevil core, I'm currently trying to figure out how we get all, let's just loosely say, all 5 storylines to intersect. And when I say 5, I mean, that was really shouldn't let go. When I say 5, I mean you have, it's mostly 5 characters, but Daredevil, Muse, Fisk, the fake Punishers, and Punisher himself. And then we have Therapist, whatever that's going to go on there, and whatever the fuck happens with the law practice. And I'm just like, I'm staring at 7 things here, and I'm struggling to figure out how.
Which I think Therapist ties into Muse, if I had to put a guess on it.
Yes, but my thing there is, okay, that then ties Matt into that. But is that just like running on the BC plot rail while we're also running Matt and Punisher versus the fake Punishers, which will then lead into, as Kyle and I have been theorizing, Matt and Punisher versus Wife of Fisk?
I'll also lob another storyline to you because we looked at it last week, Christian. By name only was he mentioned in this episode, but Bullseye is listed to be in a metric shit ton of upcoming episodes.
Yeah, so it's just like, I'm trying to do storyline Jenga here, and I can't figure it out, which has me minorly concerned, even though I have faith. I'm just staring at this, and I go, they're spinning a lot of discs right now, and I feel like at least 1 or 2 of these is getting broken.
And I also find it fascinating, and I know we're still like early because also we have season 2 of this show already confirmed, and more seasons after that are going to happen, according to many reports. But for this season alone, like, we're confirmed to have Kamala Khan's father. We're confirmed to have Tony Dalton's character of Swordsman. Like, still haven't seen them or even have them mentioned, which I find interesting. So it's like, how are they going to intertwine into
So-
the story?
So my best case here is that my best guess is that they may end up being like the quote unquote case of the week things, and that's like the easy way to tie them in. It's not as satisfactory, but if you look how things have gone over the last 2 or 3 episodes, I literally don't really remember episode 2 anymore. But Matt basically has a case an episode, even if he's only doing 5 minutes on it. Like it feels like we're gonna have like Matt loosely tied up into a case until he gets disbarred, if he gets disbarred, and then from then on.
Yeah, because the one time we see Kamala Khan's dad is like in an apartment of some sorts, and Matt like leaving the apartment with his glasses shattered and saying that he's a really good lawyer and dropping that line.
Part of me trying to remember things of movies I only watched like 5 minutes of before a shift. Aren't the Khans living with Brie Larson in whatever the country house is at the end of the Marvels?
Oh god.
Or they're helping her move there, one or the other, but yeah.
So
there with that.
They have roots down in Jersey City. I don't know why they would move away just because their daughter's a superhero.
Yeah, that is a fascinating point there too. Yeah, that's definitely something to keep in mind. Also, like, we know like Tony Dalton's character has connections to Kingpin from the Hawkeye series, so like we'll see how that potentially comes into play and where his character fits in. But I do feel like this episode was like the build up and like coming to a head of a lot of the plot lines, and next week, because it is a 2-episode week, which I'm very happy about, we might see a lot of fireworks kind of pop off and like a lot of connections one way or another, for better or for worse, kind of come to fruition. A lot happens in this episode that we just broke down, and it's still a lot of like foundation.
An hour, 10 minutes later.
Yeah. And it's a lot of like foundation laying still for the season 4 episodes in. So a lot of back and forth, a lot of unraveling, and a lot of introductory, obviously, with the Punisher and everything. There's also a lot of like floating around that like next week is going to be Punisher Daredevil team up at some point episode, which I would love to see. And then one thing before we get into our ratings, me and Harrison, allegedly, I don't know how much credence there is to this, allegedly in episode 7, Elektra is making an appearance.
Oh?
Allegedly.
Oh?
Allegedly. Now that could just be wild internet rumors.
Well, did you
that
know
are
that
just running amok? But
did you know that Boots and Ginger fucked an ostrich? Allegedly.
Boots,
I had
the
to
monkey from Dora.
I had to get my Letterkenny reference in somehow.
But yeah, allegedly, Elektra could be appearing in episode 7, is what I have seen from multiple.
I would not be mad about
reports.
that. In fact, I would be the opposite of mad about that. I would be very happy to see that.
It should be fascinating that she's alive.
Yeah. Well, I mean, let's be real. Elektra gets killed off every other week in the comics.
Yeah, that's true. Because in the comics, Elektra's the one that convinces Matt to come back and put the mask back on.
Yeah. And she's just one of those poor, unfortunate women characters that always get killed off, because that's for the longest time, that's the only way comic book writers could write women. It's like, oh, you're not actively dating the main character. Okay, you're gonna die.
Mm-hmm.
Like, It's not that hard to write a woman character. It's the
If
standard
she dies, she dies.
Get good at writing get good at writing scripts if you can't write a woman. It's not that.
Yeah.
It's not hard.
So that brings us to our ratings, and I am going to pull up the old tomato meter again, just for reference. Rotten Tomatoes. Here we go. So on Rotten Tomatoes, this episode from 7 reviews, and this is critic reviews because it's the tomato meter, has a 100%.
Checks out.
Harrison, for reference, your scores over the last 3 episodes: 9.8, 9.7, 9.7.
I'm going to continue the trend because I cannot find a good reason to give this show less than a 9.7. This one's getting a 9.8. I loved this episode. Loved it.
I really like this episode for like the big anchor pieces of it. There was some stuff that I was like, okay, like can tell this is not like the original. This is the original direction of the show, which is very funny that every main actor from the series has come out like vehemently against the original direction of the show, and there was a report confirmed by somebody who was at Comic-Con over a year ago, got it from Bernthal, like a fan, and now there's like reports like from reputable like outlets saying that John Bernthal like originally declined to be part of this project because of the original direction of the show, and a big part of it was that Deborah Ann Wall was not in the show.
So rewriting it was the best thing Marvel could have possibly done.
Yep. So now it's like on the record, Charlie Cox, Vincent D'Onofrio, and John Bernthal were all very outspoken against the original direction of the show.
Good. If this is what we got and all 3 of them hated it, I trust their vision.
Yeah.
I mean, it was Charlie Cox's idea to have Matt listen to Foggy's heartbeat go out. So if anybody knows the character, I'm going to trust Charlie Cox.
And for reference, for me, I gave the first 2 episodes 9.5s. I gave last week a 9.7. I'm giving this week a 9.6. I really enjoyed it. I think it was a little bit better than the initial premiere. I really enjoyed last week's episode for a lot of the elements that it took you through. And then this week had a lot of strong moments, but it did have a little bit of choppiness to it. But overall, very awesome episode. Continues a great 4-episode run of the show, which gives the average there a 9.7, obviously. So it keeps us above Harrison's grading mark and keeps us level there with an overall 9.7 episode for Daredevil Born Again, episode 4. Let us know how you're feeling about Daredevil Born Again in the YouTube comment section, the Spotify comment section, or tweet at us at StreamerSZN. And now, without any further ado, let us cut to everybody's good old favorite segment. It is the streaming platform Multiverse News and Notes, brought to you by our good friends over at Kenwood Beer, the official beer partner of Underground Sports Philadelphia. It's a refreshing light beer, just 4.1% ABV, 120 calories, and only 8 grams of carbs. Go to kenwoodbeer.com and use the Kenny Finder to see who's got Kenwood Beer on tap in the Philadelphia, New Jersey, Delaware, Maryland, and Pittsburgh areas. You can also find Kenwood Beer at your local liquor stores in those markets. Again, that's kenwoodbeer.com. Must be 21 or older to do so. And of course, please drink responsibly. Boys, we have a new record for a trailer from HBO and Max. The new trailer for The Last of Us that aired earlier this week or late last week officially had 158 million views in 3 days. It's the most ever for an HBO and Max original trailer.
Hashtag you love to see it.
Harrison, you're going to really love this. Confirmed by Pop Culture News, Kevin Conroy has a role in Netflix's Devil May Cry anime.
Oh, fuck yeah. Oh, my God.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, was a live reaction to Harrison jizzing in his pants.
No, dude. Kevin Conroy, he is Batman.
He's Batman.
For me. Like, there's no one else who can even come close to his level. He's one of the greatest voice actors of all time. He is sorely missed. And Devil May Cry is such a good, it's such a great video game series. This makes me even more excited for this show.
This makes me excited is that it was recorded before he passed away. No AI is used. And the quote is, Mr. Conroy gave an amazingly nuanced performance, and it's potentially his final voice role.
It's a damn shame his last performance as Batman was in that god-awful Suicide Squad game.
Well, it can't all be perfect.
Speaking of can't all be perfect, Christian, how do you feel about The Rock confirming that he will star as the lead in Martin Scorsese's new Hawaiian Mob movie?
In all honesty, I have faith in Marty. I say with very, 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 very extreme amounts of tepidness.
The quote
because here's the go ahead.
Oh no, the quote is just very funny that you called him Marty, and that's also what The Rock called him.
Well, yeah, that's no one necessarily feels the need to say Martin Scorsese, but yeah.
He says, grateful for what's been the most creatively inspiring time of my career, working closely with my friends, and of course, the maestro Marty Scorsese.
So here's the reason I have some hope for this. This is a crime film. I've watched him in Pain and Gain, whatever the name of the Mark Wahlberg, Anthony Mackie, and Dwayne movie directed by Michael Bay is. I think Dwayne can do crime. I think Dwayne is good enough to at least be fine in this movie. And realistically, I'm not necessarily looking for him to give an Oscar-worthy performance. I'm just looking for a 6.5 or a 7 out of him, and I think this film can work. So,
you know who'd be better in that role?
Roman Reigns.
John Cena. That man's already a criminal. He stole my goddamn.
Well. Speaking of John Cena and Kyle, I'm not sure if you were in the loop on this earlier today. Reportedly, Warner Brothers is in talks to sell Coyote vs. Acme to Ketchup Entertainment for around $50 million. Ketchup Entertainment is the people who just released the Looney Tunes movie that just came out in theaters this past weekend. Ladies and gentlemen, do you know the premise of Coyote versus Acme?
I remember we talked about this initially, like
lawsuit movie, right?
What?
It's a lawsuit movie, right?
Yes, where it's basically after every product run by the Acme Corporation has backfired on Wile E. Coyote in his pursuit of the Roadrunner, a down-and-out billboard human attorney represents Wiley in his lawsuit to sue Acme. And Will Forte plays Wiley's lawyer, and ladies and gentlemen, John Cena plays the lawyer for Acme.
Oh, I need this movie.
And let's just say, how do I put this? Zaslav has literally, he hasn't written this off for tax, yet it's been like a year of it just being like, hey, it's for sale. It's for sale if you want it. And we're just like, fucking release it already. So Ketchup Entertainment, please. And see, here's the funny thing about this. I'm willing to bet with how much shit Zaslav stirred up with this movie that if it does actually get bought and come out, it will earn more than they paid for it, probably.
Which is also very funny that, like, just over a week ago, there was a fan dressed up as Wile E. Coyote protesting outside of the Warner Brothers lot to release Coyote vs. Acme. And then Diego Crespo on Twitter today, who is the host of the Waffle Press, quote tweeted and said, "He did it, ... But yeah, it's very funny. Earlier this week, happy 92nd birthday to Sir Michael Caine.
So Michael Caine.
Happy birthday to him. May you see many more.
This is just very funny from a pop culture perspective. It sucks that they're doing this, but very funny social media post. Southwest Airlines on Instagram posted after announcing that they will start charging for checked bags. Their post on Instagram was, "It's not like we traded Luca, ... eye emoji." Now, granted, bags were free for the past 54 years with Southwest, but
anyway, some movie news. In sad but I'm not mad news. The new Paul Thomas Anderson movie, One Battle After Another, got moved from August to September. Which, the running theory about that is that the movie will end up playing at the Venice Film Festival. Which, like, sure, cheers. And the new film from Kyle's favorite director, Zach Cregger of Barbarian fame.
Ooh.
his new film has in the span of about 3 or 4 months gone from being dated for like February of next year to now being set for August. It stars Josh Brolin, Julia Garner, Alden Ehrenreich, and Benedict Wong. And it's reportedly like 3 hours long and stuff.
As long as there's no giant demon mother with the largest pair of titties I've ever seen, we're good.
Harrison has no context on this, and it's great.
I'm sorry. I'm going a little stir crazy because of my lack of sleep. But I just heard mother with giant demon titties or something. And
close enough.
Yep.
Close enough. Happy 73rd.
I'm like, I'm sorry. I'm going to need a little more context.
Nope.
It's a good good brother bonding movie for you and your brother to watch.
No. We're gonna be watching Daredevil because I don't know if you've seen the new episode yet.
Happy 70th birthday, Bruce Willis.
What you talking about?
Happy 70th birthday, Bruce Willis.
I found this pretty cool, and I know we're very critical of things Marvel does, but I find this very fascinating. This is from the Hollywood Reporter. Marvel uses baseball cards of all the MCU actors for Avengers films. They include stats with how expensive the actors are and how many movies are left on their contract. Quote, "It's the only way to keep track of the amount of characters we're working with."
That's so smart.
It's smart, but it's hilarious that they need to resort to baseball cards because that's so many people.
Like, should you need to do that? No, but is it very good that you are doing that? Yes.
Speaking of Marvel and being critical, Jenna Ortega doesn't think she will ever play a major Marvel character in the MCU. Quote, "I did it once. Iron Man 3 was one of my first jobs I ever did. They took all my lines out. They even took my name away. I count that, and then I move on."
So what I'm hearing is going to be playing Zatanna in the DC universe.
According to comingsoon.net, the Spider-Man Noir series starring Nicolas Cage will be released in both color and black and white.
Interesting. Darren Aronofsky is reportedly in talks to remake the Stephen King book/movie Cujo for Netflix.
Oh God. Okay.
Bad Dog.
There are no bad dogs, just bad owners. But maybe this one's a bad dog.
According to Forbes, the production company behind Avengers Doomsday is called For All Times Productions UK, and their logo is the TVA.
We got our first trailer for The Materialists, which I am very excited for. It's a romance drama. It doesn't look too comedy, even though they want to call it a rom-com. Written and directed by Celine Song, who did Past Lives, which is one of the best movies from 2 years ago, starring Dakota Johnson as a matchmaker. Daddy himself, Pedro Pascal, as a rich client who becomes interested in her, and Chris Evans as seemingly a former fling of hers, and love triangle.
I'm just starting to wonder if Pedro Pascal ever sleeps.
He doesn't. He just goes from banger project to banger project and is the coolest dude on the face of the planet.
Christian, how would you like to see Adrian Brody in Dune?
Can we make him a guild monitor? I Adrian Brody feels like he belongs as like a shady villainous figure in Dune.
He did say that he wants to work with your Overlord King,
my God Emperor Denis Villeneuve. Which
quote, I'd love to get a call to come do a role in Dune. ... I'd be there.
Who doesn't love Denis? We got a teaser for the Happy Gilmore movie, and I'm still just like, I don't care.
I'm so excited for Happy Gilmore too.
The dichotomy of hosts.
No. This is peak lizard brain activity for me. I
There
love
we go.
that one, and all I want to see is Happy and Shooter hitting balls again, and Travis Kelce and MJF and Kid Cudi, and all my favorite celebrities doing wacky shit on a golf course.
What's the other one? A recent study shows that 20% of children use their phones in movie theaters.
All this.
To which I say, as someone who works at a theater, we need to actually enforce a phone policy.
Yes.
Someone said all those kids deserve life in prison.
I don't know if I go that far, but
Hey, we just make a movie theater jail like they used to have at the vet.
yeah, no, but we do that, but we make them eat stale popcorn instead. Eat stale popcorn, Saw style, until they get sick, and then they start puking up the stale popcorn. And now my mind's going into like human centipede popcorn territory, and I just need to shut up now.
Oh, I was thinking stale popcorn and flat soda.
Flat soda isn't mean enough.
John Boyega says Tom Cruise got him cast. John Boyega says Tom Cruise got him cast in Star Wars. Quote, I'm thankful to Tom Cruise, who loved Attack the Block. He was editing Mission Impossible at the time with J.J. Abrams. Tom told J.J., you've got to watch this kid in Attack the Block. J.J. watched it, and one thing led to another. 4 or 5 years later, I was in The Force Awakens.
Attack the Block, fun movie. Can confirm. Do we want to talk about one of the biggest bag fumblers in history being caught on a audio recording admitting to things, Kyle?
Oh no.
He's such a moron. He's such a moron.
He could have had everything as King the Conqueror and failed
Oh god.
because he's an idiot.
What a
And
fucking
we are not saying his name. We are not giving him we are not giving him that.
I know exactly who you're talking about. What did he do?
How out of the loop are you?
He admitted to his wrongdoings on audio recording.
Oh well, so my entire social media feed has been basketball and football recently, so that's probably why I haven't seen anything.
Yeah, big dumb dipshit.
Big dumb dipshit.
I love this. This is from Screen Rant. Jacob Batalon embraces the internet, calling him the CEO of sex. Quote, first of all, it's an honor. I feel like people come to me for sex advice all the time. It kind of seems like it was an ironic thing, but also I'm not going to turn it down. For anybody that doesn't know who Jacob Batalon is, that is your Lord and Savior Ned from the Tom Holland Spider-Man movies.
Hey, Ned's a catch. That dude's got it all. He's the man in the chair.
Best Picture winner Anora is now streaming on Hulu. Kyle, it is time for me to start bullying you season into watching Anora.
As the high schoolers say, I'm filing a hib against you. Hib. I think this is good context for us to have as we head into the back half of season 1 of Daredevil. The showrunner for Daredevil Born Again confirms the series takes place 7 years after the original Daredevil show.
Wait. And what year's the original Daredevil show set in?
2018. So it's like
2025. Okay. So we talked about that prior, and so I was checking. Sad news, but not sad news. Village Roadshow has filed for bankruptcy after the fallout from a financial dispute with Warner Brothers over Matrix Resurrections. If I remember correctly, Village Roadshow was also in hot water over not paying writers. But this is sad because if you know the history of Village Roadshow, they were one of the really fun indie studios who ended up being involved with such things as the Matrix, the Lego Movie, Zoolander, Mad Max Fury Road, Happy Feet. So yeah, no clue what's going to happen there, but sad to see.
It's very fitting that this guy's birthday is on St. Patrick's Day. Happy 74th birthday to Kurt Russell.
Good for him.
Here's one of our Let's Feel Old moments of the podcast. 24 years ago on St. Patrick's Day, Christopher Nolan's Memento was released.
Oh, wow.
Feels like longer ago.
So this is very fun, Christian. I think we should all clap. Standing ovation. Returning in 2026 to host the Oscars is the Conan O'Brien.
A+. Good job.
Thank goodness.
Now, okay. So is it 2 years, 3 years, 4 years until we finally get John Mulaney to do it? Like we're all begging for him to do?
Good point. Do we get a co-hosting between those two?
Ooh, no. What we need is we need John Mulaney and a John Mulaney clone. Or maybe we get John and do John Mulaney and Jon Stewart, or we get Stephen Colbert and Jon Stewart, or we get. What if we get Jon Stewart, John Mulaney, John Oliver, and some other John to star to host?
John Bernthal.
John Bernthal. And we just and we just call it For John instead of Porta John, For John.
We just open it up with Dear John.
You got 3 of the John's jokes, and then you got John Bernthal standing in the corner, just like staring daggers at everyone.
staring staring in the corner, dancing on his own.
Waka waka.
Never bring that song up again. That song is cursed. The Phillies have not won shit with that.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks. Christian, I'm sure you're happy about this. Saw 11 has reportedly been canceled.
Honestly, I don't give a fuck. like I'm like Saw to me is a franchise I don't care that much about because at a certain level it's now just become iterative of itself, and I'm like, I'm never gonna watch these movies because it's torture porn. But it's like I appreciate them just like going, what is the most mean, torturous way we can kill people based on a certain theme?
This quote in Vanity Fair had me cackling just the way that people were comparing it to other things. So Gwyneth Paltrow had no idea what an intimacy coordinator was while filming Marty Supreme.
Waka waka.
Quote, we have a lot of sex in this movie. Quote, there's now something called an intimacy coordinator, which I did not know existed. I was like, girl, I'm from the era where you get naked, you get in the bed, and the camera's on. We said, I think we're good. You can step a little back. Harrison, for context, this movie is sex scenes with Gwyneth Paltrow and Chalamet.
Okay. That's
To which my favorite comparison of this was, she said, I was making movies before we had a 3-point line. I just took that shit to the basket every time I had the ball.
Oh.
We also got a new trailer for the John Wick spinoff Ballerina that is in theaters June 6th. A live action Power Rangers show is in the works at Disney Plus, according to The Wrap.
hell yeah.
This is exciting news for the inner children, at least my generation. I don't know if this was too far gone from your guys' time or not, but Game Informer is teasing an announcement for March 25th. The magazine was shut down last year. I grew up getting fucking Game Informer subscriptions sent to my house. That was like part of like my stocking stuffer from my grandma, was like all the magazine subscriptions, like Sports Illustrated, Game Informer, all that shit. So if Game Informer's coming back, I'm stoked. Christian, how do you feel about the 48% on Rotten Tomatoes based on 40 reviews for Snow White?
Next question. As you know, I don't acknowledge movies that are live action adaptations of Disney properties because they don't. There's no reason they should exist. It's the same reason I have literally refused to watch the Lilo and Stitch trailer on principle. I've refused to watch it.
This is Moana live action.
You really think I, as someone who's known about that for 2.5 years, really plan on engaging with that pile of shit?
What, you don't want to see The Rock play The Rock play The Rock?
No.
This is fascinating. The net budget for The Mandalorian and Grogu is roughly $144.6 million. Why is that fascinating, you may ask? This makes it the cheapest Star Wars movie made under Disney.
Congratulations, Disney.
God damn.
And final thing here, we just spoke about him a little bit ago and wondering if he sleeps or not. Pedro Pascal's upcoming projects. So on April 4th, Freaky Tales. On April 13th, The Last of Us Season 2. June 13th, Celine Song's Materialists. July 25th, The Fantastic Four First Steps. Summer 2025, Ari Aster's Eddington. May 1st, 2026, Avengers Doomsday. May 22nd, 2026, The Mandalorian and Grogu. And May 7th, 2027, Avengers Secret Wars.
WWWWWL.
Anything else, boys, before we hop up on out of here?
Not that I can think of.
No, my brain ain't working right now. I'm not even gonna lie.
Beep boop, beep boop, beep boop, beep boop, bop bop, beep boop, bop, skiddly bop.
Exactly.
So make sure you guys are following us on the socials at StreamerSZN, StreamerSZN Pod on TikTok. Subscribe to the pod on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts in audio form. Leave us those 5-star reviews. Subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel, youtube.com/@Underground Sports Philadelphia. We have a shit ton of live streams coming up for March Madness over the next few days that you won't want to miss. It's going to be a ton of fun. Tune into those. And leave a like on the video, drop a comment in the comments section, and of course, click that bell icon so you know whenever new videos go live. Join our bracket challenge. It's linked in the description for a chance to win an awesome prize pack from our friends at FOCO, and use code Underground10 through the end of March Madness to get 10% off your next order at FOCO when you use our link in the description. This has been another edition of StreamerSZN, the exclusive streaming platform TV and movie podcast right here on the Underground Sports Philadelphia Podcast Network. For Harrison and Christian, I'm your boy KB. We're going to go run through Hell's Kitchen and find some dirty, dirty cops. But until then, we're getting the heck up out of here. And we'll see you guys next week. Peace.
Peace.